Hey everybody, it's Chris at He Works Hard for the Honey. Welcome back. Just doing a couple of quick small projects today on the hive. Um, can't remember if I mentioned, but I think I was a little overzealous in putting this hive together and kind of filling it with honey. And the problem that creates is these bees are going to feel like there's not enough room, like they're a little bunched together, and the instinct to swarm is going to start if they feel like they're too bunched together. So we want to give them a little space. What I'm going to do is replace some of the honey frames with some drawn out comb, and you can actually see there's a really nice color here. That's actually pollen from the previous hive that I had taken it out of. And what this is going to do is just free up some area for the queen to lay her eggs. My dog is rolling around on what I assume is a dead vole in our yard. So if I look distracted, I'm just thinking about the smell we're going to be dealing with inside later. So we're gonna put a few of these in, give the queen a little extra room to lay. And sort of advance the population of the hive. And actually, I'm also going to start by opening up the spacer on the front of the hive here, which the other hive, we're actually in the middle right now of what they call a nectar flow. The plants of the season. They seem to sort of do this in waves, but they're opening up, they're flowering and blooming, and so because food is sort of so available, there just isn't the kind of robbing behavior that we saw at the end of last year. Wow, I just saw a bee go in there actually that was so filled with pollen, I'm surprised that it could move. These bees are not going to be particularly happy with me pulling this out. Which you're going to see. But maybe a little better once I put it back in. Squish as few of these as possible as we put the spacer back in with a larger setting that'll sort of allow them to come and go a little easier. That wasn't so bad. It was being pointed out to me, we're a little off center here. At some point I'm probably going to take the hive and just move it. It's a little flatter ground right here next to the bush. I probably do that at our next hive inspection, or when I can get somebody with bee gear to help me just pick it up and move it. You'll remember there's a pollen patty up on top of the second super here, and I think that's actually what's making this a little difficult to pick up. Good, they're digging into it. You know, I was kind of torn, and there are some different schools of thought. Usually when you get a nuke, the first thing you do is just feed it, feed it, feed it. So we would be putting syrup and a feeder on this and checking it every couple of days to see if it needed to be refilled. With this hive, I'm less worried about that because there is And in fact, there is so much honey that really kind of just doesn't need to happen. I can see already that just the airflow that the bees have created have gotten rid of. I mean, it's hard to tell because it's so packed in here, but it looks like almost all of the mold that was on the frames. And so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pull out 2 of these frames and kind of set them to the side and replace them with some drawn out comb frames. And my expectation is that in a couple of weeks I'm going to be able to come out here and put a honey super or a third or a potentially 3rd and 4th box on top here, and we're going to be able to finally start harvesting some honey from these hives. Wow, and looking here, I actually wonder if I'm going to need to. I need to make sure that my queen is not on this frame and I'm not in any danger of dropping her, because I did that at one point last year and luckily she landed on my foot. But you'll see that all of the mold is gone. They've uncapped a pretty good deal of the honey, and wow, there's a really, I can't tell if you can really see that, but there's a really beautiful kind of metallic sort of third over here that they've filled with pollen. Boy, and for all my concern about them having not enough room, they have, you know, nature will generally take care of itself, and it looks like they've either consumed a great deal of honey, which is, you know, might be expected. As I said, the first thing you want to do is just feed and feed and feed these new hives so they have their stress level is brought down. Yet another reason why we have a pollen patty right here. And we have an empty frame here. So for those of us who weren't with us last year, wow, maybe I spoke too soon. I talked about the urge to swarm. And now what happens is when you want to create, or when the bees want to create a queen, they'll make these large cups so that there's enough room for them to kind of continue to give the queens royal jelly. They are not going to be thrilled that I am crashing through. But what we want to do to sort of avoid swarming is come in and do just what I did there and just kind of dig out those cups. The bees will replace no cups over this side, but I am going to take a quick look around the rest of the top bar here. Although it looks like they have just a wonderful amount of space. I'm feeling pretty good about the fact that even if they were to swarm, I'd be in good company. I've joined a handful of Maine beekeeping pages on Facebook, and have noticed there have been just about a dozen swarms here in southern Maine, which is, well, it's kind of a pain for a beekeeper because it diminishes the populations that are working in our hives. I was sort of thrilled to hear it after the winter we had. I know a lot of beekeepers lost a lot of their hives. Means that we have a flourishing population that's coming back into the area here and really thriving under the conditions that we have here in southern Maine. Let's take a look. Good, we've got they are putting some honey in there, putting a little bit of pollen. You can see this capped honey up here. Again, you guys saw a lot of these frames were covered with mold and are completely like nothing ever happened right now. And fortunately, a lot of the mold that was on there will actually get rid of bacteria that can be harmful for the bees. And despite the fact that, man, it sucked to lose 2 hives last year, is potentially going to just increase the health and the viability of the hives that we have going forward. I'm really excited to see that without really any work on my part, the hive has gone ahead and cleared space for the queen to get in here and work. And that being the case, I'm gonna throw the lid back on top, and I'm gonna let them do their thing. I'm gonna smoke some of these bees up top here so that I can put the roof on with the lowest amount of crunch possible. Right. I was a little nervous today. I've actually been told on a number of occasions you're not a real beekeeper until you've been stung up your shorts. And given how kind of territorial these guys have been, I was squeamish about coming out here and doing this up my while I was wearing shorts. But I'm happy to say I am still not a real beekeeper. So thanks guys, check back in with us. I'm hoping that in 2 weeks I'm gonna be able to come out here. We're gonna have a much healthier laying pattern up in the second super here. We'll check back in on Hive 1 at that point, and I'm hoping at that point, just given that the way the hives are filled out right now, that we're going to be able to put some honey supers on here and start the process of honey harvesting. Really excited, looking forward to your questions and feedback. And I haven't done this a lot before now, but given that I'm going to be getting rid of my personal page, if you're enjoying this, if you're excited about watching the colonies grow, if you're fascinated with plants, if you have a child who you think would really benefit, please go ahead and hit that share button. Tell your friends, tell your grandma who's thrilled with gardening, tell your friend who would study herbology at Hogwarts. And I may say this every once in a while, but if you're enjoying this, please tell your friends about it. And especially now that we're getting towards the process of harvesting honey, we're going to have a product that I hope people are going to enjoy. And we would love to have a base of people who are interested in that, and for when it's ready. So thanks so much, guys, and we'll check in with you in about 2 weeks.